Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Dr. Manon.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Sara Raymond, and she is a trained hypnotherapist, a Pilates teacher, and yoga, and also meditation teacher. And she's a founder of the Mindful Movement, which well, I'll let her say what that is, but I love the title because it incorporates mindfulness and movement. So welcome and thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to have the opportunity to chat with you and get to connect and hopefully offer some value to your audience.
I'm sure you will. So why don't we start? The typical question I start with is, what got you interested in, I guess, maybe hypnotherapy first, and I don't know how the two are connected, or maybe you could expand on that.
Sure. Well, I got into hypnotherapy for myself first, right? I was a practitioner of it for my own needs. And at the time, I had already been running a business. I was owner and founder, or owner and program director of a local Pilates and yoga studio in Maryland. And I was looking for a way to build my confidence as an instructor and a instructor of other instructors. And I also just really needed to get to know myself a little bit better, honestly. I got married and had children very early, right out of college, and I didn't really take a lot of time to understand myself and get to know what was important to me, or like who I was as a person. So when I was trying to help other people become Pilates instructors and gain their confidence, I realized that I really needed to do some inner work myself. And so I started practicing hypnosis and meditation, and that was very valuable for me. And then I started putting it out to the instructors in training that I was working with. And at the time, I was using YouTube just as a resource to give them the recordings. And somehow, people found these recordings on YouTube that I wasn't intending to see them. And it just sort of took off from there. And now I work individually with clients, and I love to see the transformations that take place when people start to understand the beliefs that they had formed from childhood that might be causing or playing a role in issues that they're having in their current life as adults.
Yeah, interesting. So I'm curious with that as a background, and also that you were already running a practice, teaching, etc. One of the biggest problems, because I train healthcare practitioners as well, is there's several problems. I mean, we all have problems.
That's true.
But one of them is running the actual business.
Sure.
And is that something you could speak to a bit, or was it one of the challenges you had, or not really, because you actually started a business, which is different?
Sure. Well, I have no training in business other than experience. I actually was a kindergarten teacher before all of this. And I guess you learn a lot about working with people when you understand how to work with 5-year-olds. Because, I think at heart, we all have a little bit of kid in us. But that was where my academic training, psychology and early childhood education started. But speaking to running a business, I think that there's always a balancing act of the actual work that you're doing. So in my case, it was teaching classes and working with clients one-on-one, and even teaching teachers to become teachers. So there's that, and there's all this technical training around that, and confidence and belief in yourself. And then there's this whole other piece, which is the business part. And it was, I found personally very challenging to find a balance of, okay, where do I put my energy and my effort and the amount of time that I'm spending learning and growing as a professional. And that was definitely a challenging balancing act.
Mhm.
And ultimately I had a partner. My mom actually was my partner in this business, and she was very good at the business side of
Mhm.
running a business, and I was very fortunate to have her help with that part of it. So I hope that answers your
Yeah,
question.
no, I know, because I was curious, like, because that's, something that comes up. The other one is confidence,
Yeah.
which is interesting because, so many practitioners, I mean, like yourself, hypnotherapy, it's not like, you wake up and you are one. There's a training, and there's,
Yeah.
it's quite a bit to go through. Most of these, most practitioners, are learning something for several years before they're actually doing it. And so what's the confidence? Where do you see that being a hang up for people? Why is it like, just let's talk about that.
Sure. Well, I think that's a really big challenge. I know when I was working with instructors, I would always say that ultimately you need to find your authentic self, your authentic teaching style and voice. And in the beginning, there's a little bit of parroting back or copycatting, if you will, of your instructor, because that's the only way you really know how. But eventually, the layers of your instructor's voice and personality peel away, and then hopefully you blossom into your own unique self. And I know that that's a bit of a journey, and the only way that we can really get there is through experience. But I always, myself and other instructors that I've worked with, I always look for the lessons from the students or from the clients. And the hundreds of people that I've worked with hypnotherapy, every single one of them has taught me something.
Mm.
And it is not necessarily a technique or a skill or a method, but they have all had their own unique experience as a person and their own beliefs that have formed because of their experiences. And so every time I work with someone, whether it's hypnotherapy or even Pilates and yoga, that person in front of me that I can, hopefully I try my best to be very present with and connected with, they are really our best teachers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, I totally agree. I think I've learned most of everything from my patients, because otherwise it's knowledge, but it's the application of it and the ability to decide whether it's the right thing that this moment, or all of that, and what's really coming up that one needs to address, right?
Yeah.
But so have you found, why do you think people have a confidence issue? What's that about in your mind? I mean, it's just a guess, or maybe but
I would say that everyone's different, but I think that for the most part, babies are born with confidence, right? They have this expectation that their needs will be met. And I say most of the time, because there are some, traumatic birth experiences that can come with a lack of confidence or a lack of feelings of safety. But, like a baby is born and they have this expectation that their diapers are going to get changed, they're going to be fed, they're going to be snuggled and loved. And and they're confident, right? They accept attention, and even in like as babies grow up into being toddlers and young children, they don't shy away from someone saying, "Oh, look how beautiful you look today. What a nice outfit," or, "Oh, this painting that you made is so amazing." But then somehow as adults, compliments come, and it's like we defer them, or uh, we deny that it's true, or these things happen. We don't believe that they're true. And I believe, and I think I've seen in myself and other clients that I've worked with, that we have these experiences when we're young, when before our logical mind is really fully developed, to say that that's not accurate, that's not true. So for example, a child might come home from school and show their parent their tests, and it was, let's say, a B plus, and the parent says, "Oh, that's great, but you could have gotten an A." And then they have this feeling that that's not good enough, and I'm not good enough, and it sort of starts the cycle of not believing in one's own abilities. And then our emotional mind that says I'm not good enough then just has this, almost like it's its job to prove that that belief is true over and over again in various situations. So we have these experiences that keep repeating themselves to show us that that belief that I'm not good enough is true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could say too that we tend to notice the experiences that reinforce that as well, right? So it's hard to know how objective that is, right? But how so how does hypnotherapy help, or is it related to that? Like when you're helping your practitioners or teachers to become more confident, do you use hypnotherapy for one with them, and is that a tool that would be used for this?
Sure, I have used it with practitioners, teachers in training, but primarily I use it for clients that are not Pilates instructors in training. But I would say that it's very useful because we kind of, as adults, like you said, we're very aware of the situations that show us that we're not good enough, if we keep using that example. And let's say we use the Pilates instructor as an example, and this person wants to be a great Pilates instructor. They love what they do, and they just want to keep getting better at it, but something keeps getting in the way, and they feel bad about their performance or their ability to help their students. And so we need to look at what's getting in the way of the confidence, what's stopping this person from really manifesting or experiencing the confidence that they desire. And well, number one, just being aware of the fact that it's not what you want it to be is a really great first step. And then looking at experiences from the past that may have originally caused the lack of confidence, right? If we say that most babies are born with confidence, so something happened to change that. So what is it that happened to that person that could have changed their belief about themselves? And using hypnotherapy allows you to get to this cause usually much more quickly than like logically talking through it with someone. Because when you're in hypnosis, you get into a state where you can connect with your emotional subconscious mind rather than the logical conscious mind. So that like logically we could say, of course I want to be confident and I believe that I should be confident, but emotionally there's this belief that's saying, nope, you don't deserve success. You don't deserve to have the confidence that you desire. So getting to that cause, that sort of root, the root event that is leading to it, can be very freeing.
Hi, I'm Dr. Manon Bolliger, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you for watching these podcasts. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Also, feel free to leave comments and like it. This way, more people get to find out about this work and about other choices for health. So I think it's really important that we all share this information. I have a free gift to you. It's a 7-sequence email that has tips for every day, and it's a little insight about how to live your life when it comes to health. And it's very much built on how I managed to overcome stage 4 cancer and what it took. So I would love you to have this, and thank you once again for listening to these podcasts. Mm-hmm. So let's use an example, no names, no nothing, obviously.
Yeah.
But so let's say the person goes back and discovers the event that which they chose in that sense to interpret as that they're not good enough, right? Or whatever, they're not perfect, or whatever their story might have been, which then later in life makes them lack the confidence. Yeah. So they're under hypnosis. They connect to what? Let's go through the process so I can understand it better.
Sure. So the state of hypnosis is really just a very relaxed and safe state of the nervous system, the way that I practice. It's not like you would think of stage hypnosis where, you're going to quack like a duck. That's a little bit different. So, the client is always in complete control. And as I said, as you're relaxed in this safe state of your nervous system, you have the ability to tap into your emotional side. And it's almost like the logical part of your mind is kind of resting, or obviously it's not gone away. It's still there. It's just we're bypassing it in a way. And then I would, as the hypnotherapist, be guiding the subconscious to look at events from your past to help you understand what the cause of the presenting issue is. So in this case, it would be the lack of confidence. So it's truly amazing. Like, people will say to me, well, what if nothing comes up? What if I can't think of an event? And it almost never happens. So when you're not trying to come up with an event from your past, and you're really allowing yourself to relax, trust, recognize that you're safe, your mind will just show you the answers. And typically I'll go through a couple different scenes, and we look at, let's say the first scene that comes up is from when you're 5 years old. So we look at how you feel when you're 5 years old because of this scene. And then based on that, what belief do you form because of this event? And then there's sort of like a connect the dots, right? Well, I had this event when I was 5, and it made me believe this about myself. And this belief is now causing the issue that I'm experiencing in my present life. And then the really powerful part, I think, is when you can see and truly recognize that this belief may have been true. It may have even served me when I was 5 years old, right? It protected me in some way. It helped me to perform well in school, or please my parents, stay out of trouble, whatever it did, it was serving you in some way. But now as an adult, that belief, first of all, it's probably no longer true or relevant, but now it's holding you back from what you desire. So you can say, oh, I have this understanding now of the belief, how I got it, how it's been holding me back, and now I'm ready to let go of it. And I think it's really exciting and powerful to see this almost ceremonious letting go of an old outdated belief that just really opens the doors for the transformation that someone desires.
So do you find with hypnosis, I mean, clearly one can more likely find the event or the, the original, as you say, sometimes useful at the time, but outdated currently, story that we tell ourselves without realizing it's a story, right? Because if it's in the unconscious, you don't know necessarily where it came from.
Right.
But once you've identified it, so you brought it to consciousness, to your awareness, is that sufficient to heal in your experience?
That's a good question. I would say very, very often it is, especially when we're talking about issues like confidence or anxiety or depression even. Sometimes with medical conditions, like I've worked with clients that have cancer and are working through treatment, and I think sometimes that you need different layers of techniques for that. And really, I always say that I am supporting all of the other treatments that an individual would be going through for cancer treatment, for example. But I do think that just that understanding is very powerful in the healing process. And, sometimes I've had clients that will say, I don't even actually remember this event happening. And honestly, I don't even know if it matters if it's true or not. I mean, I think most of the people I've worked with do have, conscious memories of the events that show up, but I've had people that share that they're having a memory from being in their mother's womb. And I'm wondering, like, can people really remember that? But I don't know if it really matters, because it's the power of the understanding and the letting go that really offers the healing process.
Yeah, the reconstruction, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that understanding that the brain doesn't know reality from a story, which is also interesting, so who knows where it started, it doesn't matter, but the awareness piece is very powerful. I totally concur in my practice. I think it really helps to become aware. I think it's one of the pivotal things for sure. So do you have something like a story, or I don't know, something that just really blew your mind that you did not expect to see happen, that you really learned from, or that, and it could be, good result, mixed result, it doesn't matter. It's just something that really triggered you. I mean, not triggered in the
You mean
psychological sense.
Me personally, or with
in your practice, some way you've helped or noticed, with no names, obviously, but something that really surprised you.
Recently, I've worked with a client who she was going through her second round of chemo. She's a young woman, and she had, I believe it was lymphoma, and she had gone through one treatment, thought she was in remission, and then it came back. And that's when she came to see me. And she went through a session with me, and we talked about how the experience could have been serving her in some way. Not to say that she caused it by any means, but what it might have, how it might have benefited her. And so we went through this process. And then at the end of every session, I create a personalized recording for each client. And it's all about the beliefs that they do want and that they desire to nurture and develop and cultivate more of in their life, the feelings that they want, um, kind of a vision for their future. So I created this recording for her, and she she's she's like a rule follower, right? So she's like, I'm going to listen to this every day. She was so determined and committed and dedicated. And I check in with clients after the session, and she had been listening to it diligently. And she had her first test after the session, and it appeared that she was in remission. So she reached out to me because she was continuing to listen to this recording that talked about her healing ability. And she said to me, I can't listen to this anymore because every time I hear the word healing, I disagree with it because I am healed.
Wow.
And she had this very, very visceral emotional response to it. She's like, I need a new recording. We need to change this. So, we worked together again and we created a new recording. And the second one was a little bit more collaborative so that she could really know exactly what words were going to be said, because I think words have energy and they're very powerful. And the word healing was just not the right energy for her anymore. So we created a new recording, and I just love to hear stories like that because she did all the work, right? I went through the session with her, but she was so committed, and she had this really powerful mindset and belief that everything was going to work out fine. She was going to be healed. And so when that happened for her, she really needed to hear the words healed, or, we changed a lot of the words to be vibrantly healthy or rejuvenated, or even just refreshing, different words that really resonated with her. And thank goodness for the thesaurus. We worked it out.
Yeah. Wow. But that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Because it's true, the word healing, and I use healing in my work too. But it's process, but it is tied to the past.
Yeah.
And so it's not you might feel creative during, but it's not a future forecast word.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I really I relate to that, to what she said, but how amazing to be so clear that you need to change the instructions because it's pulling you back, right? So wow, amazing work.
Yeah. The other word that I find can be a little tricky is when we say my and then the diagnosis. So my anxiety. And I encourage people a lot to say, the symptoms of anxiety or the depression, or so that we stop kind of taking ownership of it.
Yes.
And that can make a really big difference for folks too. It's pretty interesting.
I actually wrote a book about that.
Did you?
Yeah. Your diagnosis is not your prognosis. And it's also let go of the word, because if you make it yours and you call it my this and my that, it's not particularly loving. It's going through you, and you don't need to hold on to it. Let it do its thing while you take charge of your life, so I think it and often when people associate to the diagnosis, it's embedded, especially with the current conventional medical system, that this is the prognosis, and it's not. So many people have shown that we can heal as people. We really can. So
that's great. I'll have to check out that book. I love the title.
Yeah,
it's great.
Actually, the title is What Patients Don't Say If Doctors Don't Ask. But I've got that would be a good title. Maybe the book right now, the book that's coming out is called Your Body. Yeah, Your Body is Smarter Than You Think. I have to think about the title because I changed it.
Yeah, well, I like that too.
Well, anyway, good. Well,
Yeah.
it was lovely talking to you, and I think that those are really good points. So people let go a little bit of the limitations, whichever way, and really bringing awareness and consciousness to the entire process is huge. And so
yeah, like you said, your body is smarter than you think. I love that. True.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to get to know you a little bit and get to chat with you. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Dr. Manon. For more information, go to drmanonbolliger.com.